With all due respect, that's a bunch of malarkey. This is a bunch of stuff, deal.
What does that mean, a bunch of stuff?
Well, it means it's simply inaccurate.
It's Irish.
Exactly, it is. We Irish call it malarkey.
Thanks for the translation.
No,
Okay.
We Irish call it malarkey.
You know what this is? Yeah, and I reserve this word for those rare instances when it's truly deserved. This is malarkey.
That's a bunch of malarkey.
From the King Spring Studios here in Smyrna, Georgia, this is A Bunch of Malarkey. I'm your host, Charlie McMahon. Thank you so much for joining us. This is our 12th episode. Can you believe we are almost through October already? We'll be trick or treating in just about a week or so. October winding down, and we are in the grips of autumn here in the South and in many parts of the country from what I can see from friends and family on Facebook. Winter is not too far off, but right now we're here in the South. We're waking up to temperatures in the 40s and getting up into the 60s and 70s the last few days, which I love. I'm not going to complain. But with these cooler temperatures comes that battle or that discussion or that whatever with the rest of your family members. When do you turn the heat on? Now, up in New York, we tried to have a rule where unless there was an extreme case, we didn't turn that heat on until November 1st. Number one, because oil costs an arm and a leg. You give up your firstborn for a tank of oil up there, especially when oil went up over $4 a gallon a few years back. Every time that guy would pull up, the oil man, you knew he was bringing you a $600 or $700 bill. So you wanted to conserve. You put a few extra layers on in your house, and you tried to make do. Here in the South, it's mostly natural gas. It doesn't cost as much, but you know, you just had 8 or 9 months of 90-degree heat up until like a week or two ago. You want to have a little rest where the HVAC unit isn't blowing out heat or air conditioner, just a little bit of a rest. So we woke up to temperatures in the low to mid 60s in the house yesterday and lower 60s this morning, which is fine for me on the upstairs level to sleep. You sleep with an extra blanket or so. But when I went downstairs this morning, my wife had been up a little bit before me. She had the heat going downstairs. So she caved in the South on October, 22nd. So I'm a little disappointed. We had that little funny video yesterday. Thank you guys for checking that out. Got about 1,000 hits over YouTube and the Bunch of Malarkey page. So if you haven't seen that parody on not turning the heat on until November, just go to the Bunch of Malarkey page, scroll down a few posts, and you'll see me decked out in my winter gear, eating my pumpkin spice Cheerios. And my dog is even in, one of my dogs is even in on the action with his head wrap. It's pretty funny. So check that out, share it. And I think you'll really enjoy that. But, you know, growing up, you know, there was only one person in my house who controlled the thermostat. And that was my dad. He was Captain Thermostat. Nobody else was allowed to touch it. It was like a big mystery what the thermostat was. My whole childhood years into my teens, I was so curious about that thermostat because we were never allowed to touch it. And it was in our hallway right outside my bedroom. And it was like one of those old-fashioned thermostats. It wasn't digital like you see now. It had the little slider thing on it, and it would click when you hit a certain temperature. And there was no hall light for some reason. We didn't have a hall light in my house, first house growing up. So he would take his cigarette lighter, and he would hold it up to the thermostat, and he would just set it so precisely. And he knew if anybody messed with that thermostat. So you knew about it. You just didn't touch it. So for years, I wondered about the thermostat. The curiosity was killing me. So, you know, when your parents or in health class, they sit you down to talk about the birds and the bees. They start talking about the sperm, the egg, the penis, the vagina. I yelled out, hey, get to the part about the thermostat, because I was more curious about the thermostat than I was about the birds and the bees or any of that kind of stuff, because it was like a big mystery. It was bigger than the birds and the bees, in my opinion. So that was my thermostat situation growing up. My dad was the keeper of the key there. I'm surprised they didn't put a lockbox over it, like you have in the offices where they set it and you either freeze or die of the heat. Nobody can fuck with it. Don't you love that when they put those lock boxes on in places and you're pretty much at the mercy of whatever temperature they think is comfortable? And I don't know how people live in those city buildings in different cities around the country where once the heat goes on, you switch. It's like a switch. They go from heat to air conditioning and with the flip of a switch. Now, what if you have like an Indian summer day in November? Once that shit's turned, I don't think they turn it back. So you have to kind of like open windows in the middle of like winter in those apartment buildings. And I wouldn't want anybody else controlling my heat or air conditioning. So my wife and I are pretty good about, compromising. And I like it a lot cooler in the summer than she does. But we never really go below 73 in the summer in the house on the thermostats. And I forget what we do in the winter, 68, 69. I don't think we go much above that. I like it a little cooler. She likes it a little warmer. But even in the winter, she doesn't turn it up too much. So it's a balance of you got to make sure everyone's feeling okay. It's a tough balance. It's a tough decision when to turn that heat on. Because with this crazy climate shit, people, you can be in the 40s today and it could be 90 again next week. So, you never know. So I guess it's whatever your preference is for that time of year and what everybody's agreeing upon. But there is scientific research, folks, about why women and men argue over the thermostat, whether it be at home or in the office. There was actually a study done, I don't know, 4 years ago. In New York Times, everybody ran this story. And it's basically because you ever go to, you work in an office, folks, and it's the middle of summer. The men are walking around in short sleeves. They're still warm. And the women are wrapped in blankets or sweaters on they keep sweaters in the office. And that's because they say women are comfortable around 75 degrees inside and men are around 72, 73. So that 4-degree difference is pretty big. But they base what they set the temperatures at in these companies on a study that was done like in the 60s before women were even prevalent in the workforce like they are now. And they based it on a man who was like 6 feet tall, 170 pounds, who was in a suit. So times have changed, folks. So we have to kind of find that balance between, what's comfortable for men, what's comfortable for women. We can't be a mutant and have it only our way. So we have to find a good balance so everybody's happy. And people aren't bitching and moaning about the temperature in the house. I like it cold, but if my wife was freezing to death, I'm not going to say don't turn the heat on. Although I was a little annoyed, I'll admit, when I went downstairs this morning and she had that thing running. And it's a brand new unit, so it smelled like new. So I thought something was burning at first, but they had just put it in like a week or two ago. So it was the first time the heat was on that unit. So at least it's working, right? At least we know when it gets to be really cold, we'll have some heat. So the weekend, besides figuring out whether we're going to put the heat on or not, I didn't win the Mega Millions or the Powerball. Now, folks, this is up to, I think the Mega Millions is up. I just came back a little while ago. I ran some errands. The Mega Millions now is up to 1.6 billion with a B. And the Mega Million and the Powerball is up to like 600 million. Now, this 1.6 billion, folks, I hope that one mutant doesn't win it all by himself. You can't spend that much money in 5-10 lifetimes. I hope like a group of waiters and waitresses that don't make any money win it all together, or a place where everybody works in a retail store, or people that are struggling like an office, that hardworking people pool their money together and 50 of them cash in and they all split it. I'm hoping that's what happens. I'm hoping it's not one guy. You hate to, unless they're going to do real good with that money and do a lot of good for people. And, what could you do with $1.6 billion, even the 600 million? I'll settle for my cool million, folks, and walk away. But I would still do this show. People always ask, would you quit your job? I would still do this show, but I would probably, about 1.6 billion, if I was the mutant that won it on my own, I'd probably buy a big radio station in New York and do all the programming myself, play whatever music I wanted to play, and have my own show if my friends want to have their own show, and force people to listen, because it wouldn't matter if the station does well or not, if it made money or not, because I have $1.6 billion to back it up. So we would just run rampant on my own radio station. I think that's what I would do. Give whoever wanted of my friends a show, and of course I'd take care of everybody who I'm friends with. That would be the most important thing. And then obviously different charities. How much good you can do with $1.6 billion. So again, if one person wins it, I hope they do real good with it and really make a difference. But I'm hoping a group of like 50 people at a job win it. And do well with it and improve their lives and their families and their friends. So good luck this week, folks, on the Mega Millions and the Powerball. Got my tickets, so I got a better chance of getting struck by lightning 17 times in a day than winning anything. But like they say, you got to be in it to win it. If you sit on the sidelines, you have zero chance. So at least I have a little bit of a chance. So this weekend, playing the lottery, fucking around with thermostats. I actually went to Wal-Mart this weekend. Now, that's not a store we go to often. We usually go to Costco, and like I had told you on previous episodes, we usually have our food shopping done for us with these click list service. You put your order in online, and then you pull up at the supermarket, and they have it ready. But we decided on Saturday, in the middle of the day, it was like a suicide mission from hell, to go to Walmart. I'm not a big fan of Walmart, but they do have some good deals on certain things, especially if you need like laundry detergent, stuff like that. If you don't feel like going to Costco and dealing with that in the middle of the day, Walmart's an alternative. So we took a ride down there. Folks, this is, they have a site called The People of Walmart for a reason. Mutant after mutant after mutant in the place. But that wasn't the big story. The big story is you go into Walmart, no matter what time of day, what season it is, they have 2 cashiers running the whole fucking front end. So the lines are backing up. But now they have not only these scan and bag yourself little kiosks, I guess you call them. Now they have the ones with, if you have a big order, with a giant conveyor belt. So we said we're going to do that. Folks, it's like when did I get hired by Walmart? So I felt like after all the work I did in Walmart on Saturday, that I should be getting a paycheck this week. I mean, I did everything but mop up aisle 10 when I was in there. It's ridiculous, these stores now. Everywhere you go, you have to do everything yourself. Like, this is why people are turning to, or have turned to, Amazon and online things. Because you go in these stores, it's like you have to go there on the weekend or on a weeknight and train yourself on the register, and then go back on the weekend so you know what the hell you're doing. It's easy to scan something, but the beep is so low on the machine, and then the machines are back to back. So I'm not sure if I'm scanning something twice because the lady doing hers right next to me, that's beeping. There's chaos in the store. It was just a mess. Me and my wife were getting under each other's skin trying to get the groceries and get the hell out of there. So if you want to fight with your spouse, go to Walmart in the middle of the day on Saturday. It's like a steel cage death match between the mutants, bagging, ringing your own. Every time you put the thing on the rack wrong after you scan it, the light flashes because it didn't register. Folks, it's a disaster. All these checkout things. I try not to do these self-checkouts because it's taking jobs away from people. Yeah, they're not highly skilled jobs. I get it. But they're jobs. And why the hell should we be doing that? We're already paying for the goods and everything else. Now, I'm telling you, we're one step away from there being mopping stations where we're going to mop the aisles and basically unload the trucks, too. We're heading in that direction because there's no employees anymore. I remember years ago when I worked in retail, which we're going to get to later because we're going to talk about the worst jobs I ever had. But we would be trained in every department in these department stores I worked at. We would answer questions, help. We had 2, 3, 4 people per department on the sales floor helping people all day. Now, good luck trying to find somebody if you have a question. It's basically self-serve from the time you walk in till the time you walk out, and that includes the checkout. It's a disaster. So that was our weekend. Lottery, Walmart, and the biggest thing, now Saturday was a little cool here. So at night on Saturday night, it had rained here a little bit. I don't know if anybody's watched this Making a Murderer on Netflix. Now, I'm not going to give any spoilers out or, because the new season just came out, but we binge watched. Don't you love binge watching? Years ago, you had to wait every week and then it would break for Christmas and then resume. Now you grab a bag of potato chips, a 6-pack of soda or beer, and you just plant your ass in front of that set and you watch a whole season in a couple of days. So we watched that Making a Murderer. And my takeaway from it, again, I'm not giving anything away because I know it just came out, is that I will probably never go to Wisconsin. I wouldn't even want to get a parking ticket in Wisconsin after watching this. I mean, I'd be afraid that they would somehow get hold of my toothbrush and rub my DNA all over a murder scene just for a parking ticket. The corruption and the craziness in this Netflix series. Folks, if you haven't watched season 1 of Making a Murderer, watch it. If you've already watched season 1, season 2 is out. I'm sure many of you have already started it or watched it. It's absolutely insane. It really is. So if you have time, check out Making a Murderer. We knocked it out mostly Saturday and a couple of episodes last night after we enjoyed the fire pit outside in these cool temperatures. But I love this time of the year. So, and you know what's fun too? When you when it first gets cold, you dig out your jackets, that you haven't worn since like last March or April. You always hope to find something in the pockets. Maybe you'll have a $20 bill in there from last year or a $50, but you usually only find like napkins and a receipt from, some Chick-fil-A or something that you had on, March 22nd last year. You never find anything good, or a cough drop wrapper from the cold you had last April that wouldn't go away. You're always hoping to find something nice, but you're always digging and it's like a shitty receipt or a cough drop wrapper or something. So we are back in this cool season, though. Like I said, Halloween, a week away. Thanksgiving, a month away, if you can believe it. So, summer is over, folks. It is way back in that rearview mirror. So we got to make the best of it. I like this time of the year, so I am going to enjoy it. So we were exposed to a few mutants over at Wal-Mart this week, but let's go over our Mutant of the Week winner from last week. And that would be the lady who brought the emotional support squirrel onto that Frontier Airlines flight. She beat the potato chip shooter, the man who shot his cousin, over a bag of salt and vinegar potato chips, 85% to 15%. Once again, folks, a landslide. So, I don't know. People are just taking to one person really over the other. And there was some logic behind it. We have a few comments. Amanda said it was a tough choice. I agree. And when I did the show last week, I had no idea who I was voting for until I really sat down and thought about it. David Baxter said, this is a tough one. I've got to go with the squirrel lady, only because the dude who shot his cousin went well beyond just being a mutant and crossed the mutant line into something crazier. You're right, David, like criminality. My wife said she voted for the potato chip shooter because she could actually see herself befriending that squirrel because she likes animals better than people. So that was good logic there. And Renee said, it seems like anyone who would shoot another person over a bag of potato chips should earn more than Mutant of the Week. Maybe Charlie can come up with a higher class of mutants, like a super mutant category. Yeah, we could do a super mutant of the week. What I think we're going to do, too, is we're going to dedicate one show, maybe the week of Thanksgiving, because you guys are going to be running around and you're not going to have time for a real detailed show with a topic. Maybe we will make it a mutant show all about these crazy stories. And you know what, folks? I don't even search for these stories anymore. They come to me. I just scroll Facebook. You'd be surprised. All these stories, all these mutant nominees so far this year and the ones I'm going to read today, I just come across. I'm not even looking. I'm not like Googling crazy news stories. It's so commonplace now that these people are everywhere, that they make national news, big news outlets. It's not like some, newspaper in Bumblefuck, Wisconsin or something I'm pulling these stories from. They're right out in the news. So they're amongst us, folks. That's why I always say at the end of the show, beware. It's a shit show out there because it is. You can't leave the house without running into this shit. So that's last week's winner. The squirrel lady on the plane, man, I would have loved to have seen her. Yeah, that picture of her getting wheeled out in the wheelchair, giving the middle finger to everybody with the squirrel on her lap, fucking priceless, people. If you haven't seen it, go on the Bunch of Malarkey Facebook page and scroll down. You'll see it. It's absolutely hilarious. So this week, we are going to talk about our new mutants of the week. And a couple of them hit pretty close to home here. Well, the first one did because it involves parking. And, I worked at that crazy-ass parking lot for the last, for a couple of years there, up until March of this year. And I wrote my book, a whole lot of shenanigans about it, which, by the way, thank you very much for all of you who have purchased it. And for those who haven't, what the fuck, people? Don't be a mutant. No, really, if you like mutant stories and you laugh at all this shit, there's over 50 mutant stories in there, 240 pages. Folks, you're going to Amazon anyway. You're buying dog food, all this other shit. Throw it in your cart. I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. Even the lady at the post office today who helps me when I mail out these books, because people are buying them on eBay as well, because I'm sending out signed copies. She had asked me, why are you sending out books every day? Are you a book salesman? I told her I wrote it. I gave her a copy. She loved it. She's telling all her friends about it. I went in there today, and she said, I laughed the whole weekend over that book. So even the lady at the post office liked it. So, folks, pick it up. I'm only making a couple of bucks a book. Amazon and eBay are getting all the money. It was never about making money or think I'm getting rich. I wrote the stories. It was a lot of work. I want to make people laugh, and that was the whole goal, to write these stories and get them out to you guys and have you laughing. So go to eBay, type in a whole lot of shenanigans. I'll sign it for you. You don't need an eBay account for this item. It's not an auction item. Go over there, check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. And go to Amazon. It's a Prime item when you're loading up on all the other crap, because Amazon's coming to your house every day, folks, because I know every day the bell's ringing here. And I'm not ordering shit, so I don't know where the hell this stuff's coming from. I don't even ask anymore. So get you a whole lot of shenanigans right in your box with your other baby essentials, dog food, whatever the hell you're ordering on Amazon. Throw in a copy of that. So the mutant nominees, first is parking. And I feel a connection to this story for two reasons. It's about parking, and it's a story from Long Island, New York, where I'm from. So a Syosset woman, a place I know very well, a Syosset woman is accused of biting a police officer following an incident at the Oyster Festival in Oyster Bay last Sunday. According to authorities, 24-year-old Molly Dutro refused to pay parking lot fees for the Oyster Festival in the lot on the corner of West Main and Larrabee Avenue at 5:15 p.m. Police responded to the scene and directed Dutro to exit her vehicle. Police say Dutro bit an officer on the left arm, causing a contusion, and resisted arrest by kicking her legs. She was placed under arrest and transported to the 2nd Precinct. An investigation revealed she was involved in other unrelated incidents and crimes, police say. She was charged with second-degree assault, second-degree criminal possession of a forged instrument, first-degree identity theft, second-degree governmental administration, resisting arrest, and 4 counts of petty larceny. She will be arraigned this week at 1st District Court in Hempstead, New York. Now, a couple of things. This story is all too familiar, folks. People didn't even want to pay the $5 to park all day at the courthouses. The measures people would go through to get out of paying for that $5, it's amazing. Now, I don't like paying for parking. I'm sure everyone listening to this does not like paying for parking. That's one of the things, it's like a bone of contention for everybody. Nobody likes paying for parking. But you know what, folks? If you live in the suburbs or if you live in the city, it's a fact of life. Either you pay it or you get your car towed or you have bigger problems. So if you don't want to pay for parking, there's Uber, there's Lyft, there's a bike, and there's your feet. You have other options. But the measures people take to avoid parking, it's incredible. And again, it's in the book. Get your whole lot of shenanigans, you'll read all about it. Now, this woman, what I don't understand is if you have all this, if you're involved in all this other crime, you're going to get police to pay attention to you or to come get called on you for a couple of dollars for parking when you know you're guilty of all this other shit. Now she's in trouble for a whole host of shit. If you're getting away with shit, keep a low profile. Why are you going to draw attention to yourself for a parking space and now you're all fucked up? So this lady is our mutant number 1, the police biting Parker over in Syosset, New York. So that's our first mutant of the week. These stories, I'm telling you folks, it's everywhere you go. And here's our second one. This is coming to us from Franklin County, Missouri. Deputies arrested a 32-year-old burglary suspect who was caught taking a shower in the bathroom of a home in Missouri. The Franklin County homeowner woke to a sound around 8:50 a.m. on Tuesday. But he sleeps late on a weekday. Anyway, I heard a big crash and I knew it was coming from the garage, said Richard Blackwell. Blackwell said he thought a relative or a repairman had entered his home through a side door. When he came out of his bedroom and looked downstairs towards his kitchen, he saw that someone had a few things out on the counter. A glass of milk and some cookies were on the counter with a can of beans, said Blackwell. The homeowner then said he heard the shower running, and when he saw that the side door had been kicked in, he knew it wasn't a relative, but a burglar who was in his bathroom. Blackwell said he retrieved a handgun and went to the bathroom door and demanded the burglar come out. So I stood there and I waited on him. About 10 minutes went by, he finished his shower and did his thing and then finally came out of the bathroom, said Blackwell. Blackwell said the burglar had also taken time to get dressed and wasn't armed when he opened the bathroom door, but Blackwell, the homeowner, was. I pointed a pistol at him, hit him in the nose, and dropped him to the floor. Then I crawled on his back, said Blackwell. He then called 911 and held the burglar until officers with the Sullivan Police Department and Franklin County Sheriff's Department deputies arrived. Blackwell said the man claimed he had been given permission to be in the house and mentioned a couple of women's names that Blackwell said he'd never heard of before. So the guy, was just making shit up like George Costanza, like Art Vandelay, making up names. The burglar is expected to be charged with first-degree burglary and is currently being held in the Franklin County Jail. He's lucky to be alive, said the homeowner. That's all I can say. He is lucky. And nowadays, folks, especially in Missouri and places in the South, everybody's got a gun. Yeah. And this guy, the balls on this guy, it's balls enough to break into someone's house. Then he took it up a notch with the cookies and milk and the beans. I don't know what kind of winning combination that is. But he was going to help himself to food, or maybe he did, and that was his after-shower snack. And then he just went and took a shower. And then when the guy was banging on the door with the gun, telling him to come out, he finished his shower for another 10 minutes and then got dressed and just strolled out of the bathroom. Folks, you can't make this shit up. It's crazy. It's crazy. So those are our nominees. The showering burglar and the biting the cop Parker. We'll have the real names, the funny names, and we'll have the poll up on Wednesday. We'll give you a couple of days, a day or two to listen, and then we'll have the poll, which will run through the weekend. So thank you for voting, for commenting on all the different platforms. Before we get to today's topic, which is the worst jobs we've ever had, or I've ever had, and we're going to ask you what yours was, we want you to know that we are now, A Bunch of Malarkey is now available. Well, we're on iTunes. We're on Google Play. We're on Spotify. So if you listen to to us on any of those platforms, hit the subscribe button. That helps us in the rankings, helps us get more exposure, and it's easy for you then. The new episode comes up automatically. You don't have to go searching for it. We are also now available on YouTube. After I load the show, it goes to all those platforms that I mentioned. It will also go to YouTube. We have a YouTube channel called A Bunch of Malarkey. All episodes will be... all the audio from all the episodes, previous episodes, are already up there, and all future ones will be automatically uploaded. Those may take an extra hour or two because there's, quote, video involved. It's not really a video. It's just our emblem on the screen while it plays, but it takes a little longer. So subscribe on YouTube as well. We're available. We're still waiting on iHeartRadio. I uploaded everything to there, but their approval process takes forever, so we're still not on iHeart, but I anticipate that coming soon. So again, subscribe wherever you listen to us. Thank you so much. Tell your friends, tell your family. And we continue to grow every week, so thank you. So the night of my book launch, I had a presentation and an interview done by Amy, who was really, really great. She really did an amazing job. And we had some questions from the audience and about my job at the parking lot. And I think Amy asked me the question, was that the worst job you ever had? And it wasn't, folks. Believe it or not, I wrote a 240-page book on all the crazy shenanigans that went on at that parking lot, and it wasn't my worst job. I think the reason I was able to turn a book around so quickly after leaving there is that I chronicled all the craziness every day and was able to take notes, and I kind of knew after a year that I was going to write a book. So I made sure that I was keeping real good notes and times and dates that things happen. Whereas jobs that I worked years ago, I remember some of the stories, but not all of them. So therefore, I haven't written a book on it yet. But I do have enough stories on retail and other things that I could do someday. But we're not going to go there yet. We'll see how this one does. But my worst job, I would have to say, and the parking lot's probably second or third, the worst job I ever had. Now, I mentioned Wal-Mart earlier, and some people like Target. This company was called Caldor. It was a department store. It was like a hybrid, a cross between a Target and a Walmart. It wasn't as dirty and sloppy and crazy as Walmart, but it wasn't as nice as Target. It was somewhere in the middle where you had a lot of mutants, but you had people, like a Target-type crowd shopping there. But it was hell, folks. This is where people would we had like tents and patio furniture set up in the department, in the seasonal department. People would try to sleep there overnight. People would shit in the kiddie pools. You know, it's a true story. We smelled shit. We looked around the seasonal department, and there was shit in the kiddie pool. Somebody, we think it was a customer, could have been an employee, decided to just drop their pants in the middle of the aisle, take a shit in the middle of the seasonal department in a kiddie pool. Now, you can't make this stuff up, folks. Wednesdays at Caldor was Senior Citizen Day, and literally they would come in by the hundreds, and they would all buy prune juice because they were all constipated. We had a lot of leaky diapers and shit on the floor on Wednesdays, so that Wednesdays were always fun. They got a 10% discount. They would shit up the store and leave. We also had an incident where I mentioned this on my book launch party because we discussed other crazy jobs where the president of Caldor, the top guy of the company, he would go around and visit different districts around the country of the stores. So he came to Long Island, New York, where I'm from, and he was going to tour, I think, 8 stores in a day. So all the managers for all the stores and the department managers, we all worked like somewhere between 24 and 36 straight hours overnight, getting the store in tip-top shape for the visit because you want to put your best foot forward. Now, this was right before Christmas, I would say in 1995. And we did a great job. Everybody pitched in. We had employees work overnight. The store was in great shape. So we do the tour of the store, the sales floor, and he liked everything. He said everything was well-stocked and neat, and considering it was only 2 weeks before Christmas, he was very happy with the way things were. But he said he'd like to take a look at the stock rooms because he wanted to be sure that all the stock was out and nothing was sitting back there because at Christmas time, if it's not on the sales floor, it can't sell, and you want to maximize sales. So I was in charge back then of like the toy department, the sporting goods department, health and beauty aids, stationery, and maybe 3 or 4 other departments. So we went into the toy stock room, which I was in charge of that department. There was like 3 or 4 cases. The whole stock room was empty except for like 3 or 4 cases of these action figures. You know, like the ones that hang on the little peg on the shelf. But the pegs outside were full, so we couldn't fit them out there. So it was like overstock. But he looked at the cases, one of which was open, and there was like tissue paper hanging out of it. And he said, Charlie, he said, I would really like to see these out. If they can't fit on the peg, just put them on an end cap. Do something with them. So I said, yes, sir, I'll get that taken care of today. He says, thank you. And he goes, oh, what's in here anyway? So he reached his hand into the box, and this pale look on his face, it came over his face. Like I thought maybe there was a dead mouse in the box. I didn't know what to think. We all like stopped. You ever seen a movie where like the record scratches at a party and everybody looks? Well, that's exactly what happened. He pulled his hand out of the box and there was human feces, shit, all over his hand. I wanted to crawl in a hole and die right there. We all looked. His face like he wanted to throw up. He went running out to the bathroom to wash his hand. Now, we figure, obviously a customer couldn't have done it, that we had an overnight crew who used to unpack the trucks overnight and put the cases in the stock room and pack stuff out. We think because this toy stock room was the furthest point away from the bathrooms, that this person that was working the night shift had to take a crap, and the only place he felt he could do it was to shit in a box of toys. And he even used the tissue paper inside the box to wipe his ass. So this guy not only touched the shit, but this paper, it was really disgusting. So this is what I had to deal with, folks. So this is far worse than the parking lot. There was nobody, at least I didn't ever stick my hand in shit or had a customer stick their hand in shit. So this is what I had to do. We had a guy who worked in the automotive department, who was drunk all the time. He would go in the parking lot and drunk. He stunk like booze all the time. It was just a circus at this job. And what Caldor was known for was putting stuff on sale. Sales would start on Sunday morning, and they would run till Saturday night. And then the new sale would start every single week. And the circular and the flyers would go out in the newspaper, and people would be lined up on Sunday mornings for the sale items. But Caldor never had the sale items in stock because they were so backlogged on trucks that all the goods were sitting in the back of the store, in the parking lot, because they were backlogged 2 to 3 weeks on trucks. So we were always 2 to 3 weeks behind on sale items. So people would get up on Sunday morning. You would still see like which side of the head they slept on because they wouldn't even comb their hair. They'd be up, for these sale items. and we'd have to give them a rain check, and people would scream and curse at us and threaten us, and it was terrible, folks. It was absolutely the worst experience. Now, Caldor also had a shoe department. You ever go to Payless, where it's all self-serve, where there's no like person you say, like my first job, I worked in a sneaker department at a sporting goods store. People would say, I need this in a size 10, and you would run in the back. In Caldor, just like Payless, everything was out. By the end of the day, on Saturdays and Sundays, the entire shoe department, boxes, loose shoes, would be on the floor in the department. So much so that we would have to get rakes, garden rakes, like that you rake leaves with, and rake the shoe department into a big, giant pile, like you do with your leaves in your yard, and your kid and your dog jump in, only we didn't jump in. We would spend hours trying to pair up these shoes and put the entire shoe department back together. It was almost like a big, wacky jigsaw puzzle that we had to put together at the end of the nights on Saturday and Sunday. It was an absolute disaster. So I would say Caldor was my top job that was like the worst. Like my first job at Herman Sporting Goods, which I've spoken about on this podcast, where I used to bribe the teachers and they used to come in and all the gambling money and all that, was selling sneakers and athletic shoes and stuff in a sporting goods store. So, I mean, other than the occasional ugly foot, smelly foot, holes in the sock, a toenail that could cut you in half like a machete, really wasn't too bad. We would have people. We had this one woman, believe it or not, folks, and I was a teenager. She would show up in a skirt with no underwear on and a very low-cut blouse with no bra on. And she was like an exhibitionist who would come in, and she wasn't very attractive and in shape or anything, but she would come and, I don't know, man, you would be putting that shoe on her and she would like expose herself to you. It was pretty sick. It was, I remember us all talking about it at the store. So you had weirdos even back in the 80s. It's nothing new. And no, I didn't get an Italian ice for being flashed by the shoe lady exhibitionist, in case you're wondering, like I did with the flasher from my elementary school. But I worked for TJ Maxx for a while. I mean, that was a company that treated their employees well. I managed for one of them. But you talk about shit on the floor. Everything was on the floor at the end of the day. People would like have to test things out. Like it was sick. They wanted to buy like an area rug. They would lay it out in the middle of the aisle and then lay on it, like to see how it feels or how it looked. They would like lay on pillows. The whole store was on the floor. And everything was retaped because they would rip the boxes open on everything. Everything had like duct tape and packing tape. Everything. They would open underwear just to see what underwear looked like. Now, if you know you're buying boxer briefs, folks, and you know your size, why the fuck do you have to feel it? Take it out of the box. You know what underwear are. You put on underwear every day. Well, most people, except the lady who came to visit me for shoes every once in a while at Herman's, you put underwear on every day. Why do you got to feel what the underwear looks like? And this is, I'm telling you, you would find, dozens of pairs of shoes in the housewares department, housewares and other. It was just, you basically had to put the store back together again, especially at Christmas time. But this was a weekly thing where people would just tear through this store. I remember even hearing customers saying, because at TJ Maxx, and I think they still do this, or at Home Goods and Marshalls, they're all under the same TJX umbrella now, on the same company. If there was like a little chip or dent in something, you would bring it up to the service desk and they would give you a discount. I can remember working in the aisles as a manager, helping my employees, hearing a woman say to a friend the next day, oh, just dent it a little bit, they'll give you 25% off. People are nuts. They would actually damage the goods to go up and get 25% off. It was crazy. I had a woman who was a German lady who ran my fitting room at TJ Maxx. I think her name was Irmgard. Don't worry, folks. I could talk about her. She was like 90 at the time, so she'd be about 130 now. But she ran a Carvel when I was a kid because I remember she looked familiar. And I remember when I started managing the store, I said to her, Irmgard, you look really familiar. I grew up in West Islip. Are you from that area? She says, I ran the Carvel. I owned that Carvel for years. So that's where I knew her from. Now, this woman, you talk about drunk. This woman was drunk all the time in the fitting room. She would go on a break and drink vodka out of a flask and pass out in the car, and I would have to go out and wake her up and try to bring a cold water, like a cold rag, to wake her up in a car to get her back to work. But the hell, did she make a good apple strudel? She would make, I don't know what she put in that apple strudel, but she would always bring us German apple strudel. So there was something good out of it. But I would actually almost have to carry this woman back into work after her lunch break because she was getting drunk on vodka in her car. So So retail is retail. You're going to deal with mutants nonstop. Then I managed in the mid-'90s, I'm sure a lot of you remember this. It was a place called a Discovery Zone. It was a children's indoor fun center, like a place where there was ball pits and slides and all that kind of stuff. So you talk about filth, folks. Now, people always joke around when they say, how did you work in a place with kids? Because everybody thinks I hate kids because I don't have them. I don't really hate kids. I usually hate the parents of the kids, but that's a whole nother topic for another show. But you talk about shit and throw up and piss in the ball pit. Once they piss or puke or shit in the ball pit, if they let you know about it, you would have to rope off the ball pit, throw everybody out. The employees would have to take all the balls out of the ball pit and put them in these mesh bags. We would take these mesh bags and put them in this special room that we had and hang them up. And then we would close the door. And on the outside of the door, there was like a panel where it was called a sanitation room or a wash room, where we would program a button. And then all these jets, like shower heads, would come from all different directions on the wall and ceiling and wash all these balls. And there was sanitizer in there. And then they would dry and we would restock the ball pit. So when somebody shit or pissed in the ball pit, that was always a disaster. But, I mean, what did you expect? You're running these kids around for an hour down slides. They're sweating like animals. And then you're going into a party room, giving them pizza and cake and fruit punch. And then you're bringing them back out to run around like animals for an hour. Like there wasn't going to be puke like every day in there. So between the puke, the shit, and all that, that was a pretty bad job too. But what I always said about this, what I remember most about Discovery Zone is that, and it kind of ties into my flasher story in one of the first couple of episodes that I did. Like in my elementary school, we used to, supposedly kids used to see a flasher and we would all scream and run in. And instead of, having counselors there or whatever, they would give us an Italian ice to calm us down. Same thing in Discovery Zone. I don't even think we had a first aid kit. When a kid got hurt, and there was a lot of injuries in there, people would run into each other, fall, kids would cry. The first thing the employees would do, and I don't remember this in the handbook, we had this icy machine. It was actually called Icy. It was a polar bear emblem on it, I think with blue and red stripes on the cup. And it came in a couple of different flavors. And the kid would be laying there in pain, like the bone sticking out of his foot. Instead of offering like some medical team, we would bring him an Icy. And the kid would stop crying and suck on the Icy. And all was well in the world if you give an injured kid an Icy. So Discovery Zone was pretty crazy too. So I would rank it Caldo number 1, crazy, worst job. And then it would be a split between maybe Discovery Zone or the parking lot. So I want to know, folks, and I'm going to post this, but I really want to read your comments next week. So really comment on this one. What was the worst job you ever had? Now, it doesn't have to be the job you're in now. It could be something from high school, from college, something before high school, a paper route. So maybe you worked at a deli, maybe you worked at a fast food restaurant. Tell us what the worst job you ever had was, and tell us why. And we really want to read your comments on next week's show. So definitely do that. So the parking lot was pretty bad, but I also, Benji mentions in the forward, he did an excellent job with the forward, and Benji's just one of the best people I've ever met. He wrote that Charlie seems to have found time to live several lifetimes worth of jobs, pranks, and memories. Even today, it's not unusual for Charlie to tell us a story from a career we didn't even know he had. So it's true, because I had a lot of these retail jobs, and it's not like years ago, folks, where your parents worked in the same company for 30 years. You work a couple of years at a place, and then you move on for better salary or benefits or location or whatever. So I worked a lot of retail jobs in those 11 years, and then I worked in a corporate setting, and then I ran my own businesses. But even running your own business, the DJ, I don't really have any bad stories, but I ran my own cleaning business where I cleaned houses. I could tell you stories all day about that, but the one that stands out the most, this woman was moving. She says, I need a deep clean of the house because I'm moving. When I tell you the stove had about a 3-inch layer of it looked like jelly, but it was fat from all the shit she was frying on the stove. I had to take a scraper, me and the person that ran this company. It was like brownish. It almost looked like snot. It was jelly on top. It was like a 3-inch layer on top of a stove. So I want to know how she just kept cooking on the stove for all these years and let that fat build up on the stove. It must have taken me 2 hours to clean this stove. It was I was gagging. The most disgusting thing I ever saw. How do you let your stove get that big. This goes back to last week. Now, if you went into someone's house and they invited you for dinner and you saw 3 inches of jelly fat on top of their stove, are you going to eat anything in the house? I mean, come on, people. Come on. But I've also been along for rides on other people's jobs. I had a friend who was a pizza delivery guy. And we had plans to go out on a Friday night, but he says, Charlie, I don't know when I'm going to go. I think I have 2 more stops. He said, what you can do is I'm in the area of my house now. Come over and leave your car there and go on the last couple of deliveries with me, and then we'll go out from there to dinner or wherever we were headed, to a bar. And I said, yeah. So I show up at his house, and he pulls up in his car with the pizza thing on top, and he picks me up, and he says, I only got 1 more. I did 1 while you were riding over. I got 1 more. Delivery. So I said, yeah, I'll go with you. So his pizzeria, I think it was in Belmore on Long Island, had a special called a Family Feast. I laughed just at the name of it. What did this family feast consist of, you're probably wondering? Well, it was 1 large 18-inch cheese pizza, a meatball Parmesan Hero, a baked ziti, 12 garlic knots, a salad, a 2-liter Coke, and I think a couple of cannolis for dessert. I think it was like $25 or $30 because this is going back a while, so it was a good deal. I mean, come on, a pizza, meatball hero, a thing of baked ziti, garlic knots, a salad, a soda, and cannoli for like $25 or $30. So we're heading over there. We got all the food on the back seat. The pizza's in the warmer with the 2 entrees, the salad's on the seat, the cannoli, everything. So we pull up at the house, and now we're expecting, like, when we ring the bell, kids, to be wild there with this family feast. There was a whole, to-do going on over there. We ring the bell a couple of times, and then this woman, now I'm not body shaming. It's a story, folks, so calm down. A very big, heavy-set lady comes to the door and was very kind to us. We said, here, ma'am, we got your family feast. Oh, come on in, boys. We laid down she had like this little table when you walked in. We laid everything down for her. She gave us the money and Richard tip, my friend. And she thanked us again. Really nice lady. And we left. So now we're all excited. That was his last stop. We're going to go out to dinner or the bar or wherever we were going, to karaoke. And I don't remember the fuck we were going. So we're about 3 minutes away from the house where we just were. 3 to 5 minutes away. We're blasting the music, having a good time. And I turn, out of the corner of my eye, I see a white bag on the back of the seat. So I said, Rich, I think we forgot to give that family this bag. He goes, oh, shit. So I reach back there, and it's the salad. So she got everything but the salad. So Rich says, we better go back because if she calls and complains, I'll get in trouble. I said, yeah, no problem. So we turn around. Now, it couldn't have been more than 5-7 minutes after we were there. We go up to the door with the salad, and we're ringing the bell. Nobody's answering the door. So we were like, how is this possible? We were just here 5-7 minutes ago. We're ringing the bell. Nobody comes to the door. So I said, Rich, what are we going to do? We're going to leave it on the doorstep? What do we do? He says, no, I got to give it to her. He says, why don't we go around the back gate? Maybe there's like a sliding door, like off the living room or something. And maybe they're all back there. Maybe they have the TV on or the music or they're having a party. We'll knock on the door back there. I said, okay. So we go around to the back door. And we go to the sliding door, and it's wide open. Not the door, but, like she has no, like, vertical blinds or anything. You can see right in. And it's like this family room. And she had already... Now, this woman's by herself, okay? She ordered a family feast. The pizza's open. There's already 2 or 3 slices gone out of the pizza. The baked ziti has a fork in it. Like, it looked like half the baked ziti was gone. And the garlic knots were open. I don't think those were touched. The soda was poured into a glass. The cannolis were on the side. And there she was, sitting in a recliner, reclined back, hoisting the meatball hero up in the air, and she was, licking the cheese off the meatball hero and, taking, these bites out of the sandwich. And she had, sauce all around her face. So me and Rich are trying not to laugh. So Rich bangs on the door. And she doesn't hear us, so he bangs again, and she, jumps up startled with all the cheese and sauce all on her face, dripping from her chin. Her eyes light up when she sees us, and she comes to the door and opens the sliding door with a mouthful of meatball and says, I was wondering where the salad was. So we go, oh, here, ma'am, enjoy it. And we left. And we talked about this story for years. Every time we had a party, I would say, Rich, tell the family feast story. And he would get tired of telling it. I'd go, come on, tell the family feast story. To me, that was one of the best stories. And it was not even a job that I had. I happened to do a ride along with a pizza delivery guy one night who was a friend. And I got like one of the best stories ever. Now, I'm not fat shaming the woman I'll knock a pizza off myself in a couple of hours. But, when you factor in the baked ziti and the meatball and all that other shit. Come on, folks. It's a little excessive. Come on. For one person, you're expecting a family feast? At least 2 people for a family feast. That's it. Or maybe she was going to save the baked ziti for another night. No, she had everything. She had already dug in. Within the 5 to 7 minutes, she was already well into that family feast. So that was my pizza delivery story from going with a friend. So, folks, whether it be a pizza delivery guy, somebody working in retail, a server at a restaurant, even nurses, the shit that all these people that help you every single day out there have to deal with. Folks, be nice. Because, I wrote a book on all this, and that's just from 2 years working in a parking lot. Could you imagine what nurses deal with? People in these restaurants, fast food places, the way they get treated. And that's why I dedicated my book to everybody who works in retail, food service, hospitality, and with the public in general, because I grew up, my parents working in this industry. I did it. A lot of my friends did it. Just be nice when you go to the supermarket. Just make conversation with the cashier. Try to be nice. It goes a long way, folks, because believe me, they've dealt with 35 mutants before you even walk in the door with your groceries. So try to be nice, and let's all get along. So that is our topic for the week, worst jobs you ever had. So again, I'm going to post, when I post this episode, you can let me know in the comments there, or I'll put out a question on Wednesday. What is the worst job you ever had in your life? Again, it could be something from when you were younger. It could be the job you're in now. If you have the balls to say it, why not? Who's going to see it on the Bunch of Malarkey? Well, it's a growing show, so you never know. But a job you just weren't happy with. Maybe the conditions were bad. Maybe it was just you had to deal with mutants nonstop, just these nonstop mutants. Would you ever write a book about, like I did with the parking lot? Have you ever considered writing a book about a job or experiences you had? Let me know that too. We'll talk about that. I want to read all your comments next week on the show, so make sure. And we'll also have our poll for our mutant of the week, whether it's the showering burglar or the lady who bit the cop at the parking lot at the Oyster Festival. So, folks, we just talked about mutants. So, my book is chock full of mutants, 240 pages of great stories. So many of you have ordered it. I thank you very, very much, whether you ordered it at the launch party and bought it there, eBay, Amazon. I'm selling them through eBay, so I can get you guys personalized signed copies for those who know me or don't know me and want it anyway. And through Amazon. Again, you're going on Amazon for Prime shit anyway. Just order it, throw it in the cart. And I know I'm shamelessly promoting it, but I've worked hard on the book, and it's not so much about the money, folks. Nobody's going to get rich writing a comedy paperback. That Amazon gets most of the money. Even eBay, between the cost I had to spend on Amazon to put them on eBay, a couple of bucks a book. It's that I put the time and the effort in to write these funny stories, and I really want you guys to enjoy them. That's the whole purpose of this. I knew I was going to get rich writing a book about a parking lot, but I want you to enjoy the stories. And I think if you sit back and read these stories, you'll get a good laugh. Every single person that's bought it has given it a top review when it comes to comedy. Even people I didn't think were going to like the book that are older, that, maybe would, find the language in there a little offensive. They liked it, so I think you'll like it. Christmas, 2 months away, folks, not that far. Think ahead. I've already autographed a couple of books saying Merry Christmas to people's family members. They're buying it ahead of time for Christmas to put in a stocking. Think ahead to Christmas. 18 and over, maybe 16, 17, parental discretion, but 18 and over, a friend who needs a laugh. This is what it's all about, folks. Not just the book, but this podcast. And I wrote that earlier in the week. So much shit out there, folks. Politics and nonsense and everything. This show and books like this and anything. Music, comedy, movies. It's an escape from all that, and that's why I do it. So I can't thank you enough for all your support with my silly projects, the book, this podcast, and whenever you make a comment or like it or share it, it means the world to me, and we're going to keep going. And hopefully next week I will have a co-host back because I think the show flows a little better with a co-host rather than listening to one guy go on these diatribes. But I like having a co-host. I like doing it alone. I like both. So we're going to try and mix it up. And we'll probably go to the holidays, like I said, and then we will give you guys a break to enjoy the holidays with your family. You'll have a lot of running around, a whole lot of shenanigan book orders to place. I know you'll be busy, folks, so I appreciate it. So that's going to wrap this episode up. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as I always say, folks, and it gets truer each week, doesn't it? Beware. It's a shit show out there. This has been A Bunch of Malarkey. Thanks for tuning in. Take care, everybody.